from my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand my intention?
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
You mean our guest tonight is
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace. It's the world's greatest superpower show.
Hi, and welcome to Minding the Multiverse. My name is Gabriel.
And I am Jeremy.
And we are here to talk comics, culture, and quantum entanglement.
Yes.
If you jumped to an alternate dimension and met a version of you that had an original Steve Dillon of Jesse Custer asking a white supremacist where his chin is, would you steal it knowing full well that the alternate you would be very, very sad?
Yes, I would. Yep. I would take it, and I think that he would understand because he would probably do the same. You know, it's very likely that he got his copy the same way. So
it's just a series of
That's right.
dimensional jumpers stealing from each other.
That's right. It's just, you know, it's kind of like the movie The One. We just go in from multiverse, reality to the next and steal every copy of it. So I have them all.
So you're the Jet Li in this scenario.
Absolutely right. Stealing all of the power of the Steve Dillon art.
All right, that was not the answer I was expecting. So thank you. That was an interesting journey. Well, we get into something very similar to that in this week's subject. We're covering Black Science in the story arc How to Fall Forever.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. This is a story of where black magic and weird science get busy and destroy the very fabric of reality. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's I've seen the book at my local shop multiple times. I saw single issues and thumbed through it and, discovered just how great the art is, and that obviously caught my eye. And I found out that there's quite a few trade paperbacks of it. So I never pulled the trigger on it, though. It was always something I had more important to pick up first. So I'm actually, I'm really excited to see what this is all about.
Good. Well, just a quick spoiler alert. Yes, you should pick it up.
Right.
It is very good. It's very, very worth it. We were talking about this on Discord, and I was trying to kind of come up with a quick summation of kind of what this story is. Like how do you like one line describe Black Science?
Right.
And kind of came up with a few. So it's lost in space if the dad was Rick Sanchez. It's Quantum Leap reimagined by Frank Frazetta.
Ooh.
And it's also Mozart and Salieri, but in space.
Okay.
So that's where we're going. That's the vibe we're going for. Black Science is written and created by Rick Remender and unbelievably, sumptuously, gorgeously illustrated by Matteo Scalera and Dean White, which is a strange combination of names. That is very exotic and very accountant.
Matteo. Is it Matteo Scalera?
You know what? It very well could be. I like Matteo.
Matteo. Sounds very high class. Matteo Scalera.
Like instinctively my pinky's out.
Yeah, right.
As soon as I say it, it's just like a little flag. Whoop.
Matteo. And Dean.
And yeah, Matteo and Dean. It's like a terrible 50s band.
Dean.
All right, well, Black Science is the story of Grant, who is a super scientist anarchist. He is super cool, kind of a prick, and he's our main protagonist.
Grant, okay. A scientist anarchist.
Yes. And he founded the League of Anarchist Scientists, which sounds cool at first, but a league is an organization of people, and anarchists don't really vibe with organizations.
No. That, the whole point of an anarchist is, the opposite of rules, regulation, and standards, right?
Right. And a league is for bowlers.
Right. Yes.
But if you can get past that, he's like 1/3 Reed Richards, 1/3 Emmett Brown, and 1/3 Victor Von Doom, which R.I.P. MF Doom.
Call me your majesty.
Okay, so he's a third Reed, a third Emmett, and a third Victor Von Doom. He's got a league of scientists that are also anarchists. It sounds more
like he's altruistic. He's in it for good.
Okay.
So that's your Reed Richards. He's a super scientist looking to save the world. Your Emmett Brown he's also willing to throw himself into the experiment at a moment's notice.
right.
And then your Doom he's also kind of a badass and a dick. So like Reed Richards is he's just cold. Emmett's the best.
Right.
And Doom is
Just dark. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
cold.
so-
He's
yeah,
cold
so
and genius, yeah.
right. So there's your kind of your personality is he's also, willing to kill a guy
Right.
for science.
Science. Anything for science.
Yeah. And this could also be like an alternate universe version of the Venture Brothers.
Okay.
Because you have Jonas, Brock, the boys, and even a techno shaman that could stand in as a more than adequate Dr. Orpheus.
Okay.
So Grant leads a team of super scientists, the Anarchist League, but they're also called Dimensionauts. And this is one of many new fun words we'll be learning.
Dimensionauts. Yeah, it kind of makes me think, like you say that, Dimensionauts, and it makes me think of the scene in Avengers Endgame
Oh, yes.
where they all, get on that platform and get shrunk and they travel through the quantum realm.
Yeah.
I know that was
Yeah.
through time and not dimensions per se, but Dimensionauts.
You're right. It's in the same vein and kind of similar suits. Bigger sci-fi helmets
Yeah.
in Black Science. But yeah.
Like 50s style, kind of? Like the big bubbles.
It's just more like cone heads.
Oh,
But yeah, so
learned that?
Di-
I love that movie.
I that doesn't surprise me one bit. But yeah, so imagine if a helmet was designed specifically for a cone head.
Okay.
That's what they're wearing. So a Dimensionaut is kind of like being an astronaut, but lazier. So you don't go to space, you make space come to you.
Ooh.
They also study infiniology, which is the theory that anything you can imagine, cures for diseases, rare minerals, unimaginable technology, all of it exists in some layer of the Eververse.
The Eververse. Okay.
The Eververse has layers, like an ogre.
For your information, there's a lot more to ogres than people think.
It is also, and often, referred to as an onion.
Ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes.
Okay.
So layer upon layer of parallel dimensions. Each layer represents an immeasurable number of realities, each created from the choices made by every living being in the universe.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard there's that theory out there that, every single choice, every single action taken, every single thought basically creates a whole new timeline or reality. So me choosing to not put my hand in the air when I'm talking versus doing it, there's a whole reality just for that one little insignificant change.
That is exactly the premise of the Eververse. You
Okay.
nailed
Okay,
it
so-
directly.
Okay.
In one scene, one of the scientists, she designs a logo for their team. It's kind of a circle in circle shape, and it's supposed to represent the onion. And he says, that's awesome. Now there's been an infinite number of universes have sparked from that, and this symbol will carry peace and discovery, across the Eververse. So yeah, you've nailed it exactly.
But no, it's infinite. It's called the Eververse, so it's infinite. So there's no true center to this so-called onion, apparently. It just keeps going.
Well, so that's a theory. That's
Okay.
one of the theories that they're looking to explore in this is if there are layers, what's at the core?
Right.
And the running hypothesis is that it's the first dimension. It's the core. It's the base. So everything ripples out from there. So it's either just the first universe or it's God. We'll find out.
The first entity or state of
Yeah.
being that made a choice of
decision.
some kind. Right.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I think that's an overall arc of the story. It's addressed very briefly in this run. So we're covering issues 1 through 6, and at one point one of his kids asks that exact question: what's at the core? And Grant says it's the origin. It's the origin of everything. And his kid says, "Oh, is it God?" And Grant immediately shuts him down. God's not real. No.
Right.
And I was like, all right, it's easy. He's like 8.
Generally the scientifical types of folks are quick to not bring that into the discussion. So
and there's a bit of your Rick Sanchez. So
right.
anytime it's a higher power and not you, it rubs him the wrong way. This is all, my choice. This is all.
Yeah, it's math.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's your Grant character is.
Gotcha.
He's trying to save the world, but he's kind of a prick.
Yeah, I imagine myself being a little obnoxious like that if I were, one of these characters. Maybe it's got no.
Right.
Well, I mean, it could be no.
Like,
it's not.
Yeah, your kids come to visit you at your super science lab.
Right.
And they're like, maybe it's no. It was me.
I
did
made
this.
Yes.
So yeah, that's essentially Grant in a nutshell. But he's more of like, no, we made this.
Right.
Us, not it didn't manifest itself. It didn't come from a higher power.
Yes. Thank your doctors first, people.
Right. So Grant believes that being able to travel through the Eververse would be the key to unlimited resources, bananas ass technology, and essentially the keys to saving mankind.
Okay.
And Grant, at his core, believes that breaking the rules is what propels us forward.
I like that idea.
I thought you would. Now, on kind of the opposite end of that is Kadir, and Kadir is his boss and primary lifelong antagonist. So
okay.
Grant and Kadir meet in college and immediately hate each other.
Right.
So Kadir is also a super scientist. Like, he's no joke, but he is a guy who works within the system, right? He understands, you gotta politic, you gotta get funding, you gotta do all this stuff. He's more traditional. And then he meets Grant, who's got nose rings and a mohawk and a leather jacket, and he tells him to go fuck himself. Like, they immediately are not friends. Now, Kadir has used those skills to become a mover and a shaker in the scientific community. So he is Grant's boss.
Well, sure. If he adheres to the rules and plays the game and does the politics, then yeah, of course he's going to advance above or ahead of Grant in that case, because he's playing the game,
and he's a real piece of shit about it too. So
I mean,
they have that in common. They're kind of both assholes.
CEOs,
Yeah, and he's a shark.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like he has an agenda. Kadir kind of has the same goals, but doesn't want Grant to get credit for it because he hates him. And if Grant becomes like the savior of humanity, that's going to really irritate Kadir.
Yeah.
So Kadir's cool with the science, but kind of like wants him to ease back a bit and also maybe go away.
Well, achieving something like that when not following the rules and playing by the seat of his pants, that goes against everything Kadir holds true to himself, is that you have to follow the rules. And this guy comes along all fucking smart and shit, doing shit outside the rules. Yeah, that's going to rub you the wrong way.
And it very realistically could be the last original scientific discovery. Like, Grant could tie the bow on human discovery, because now we just have a window to everything else. We just grab things from other dimensions. Like, that's it. So that's just a level of love that Kadir is not ready for Grant to receive.
Is Kadir like the Wernstroms to the Farnworths kind of dynamic?
Oh, almost, yeah. But it's coming from a better place, because Kadir believes that accessing the Eververse is a gateway to every variety of virus, every assortment of predator, every potential weapon, and that can only end in catastrophe.
Well, sure.
His thought is, you open this gate, the second you open it, we're all dead. We're all doomed. Like, who knows what's on the other side of this thing? Because you're a crazy person who just keeps pushing the boundaries without being responsible.
Yeah.
So he's coming from a decent place. It's not just like kind of two-dimensional, like, you know, mustache twirling, oh, I'll get you. He is like, I mean, air could come through from another dimension that is poisonous to us all, and we all die.
And we all, yeah. I mean, it could
like
be
super COVID could
a
come through that gate.
Slightly different. Yeah. It could be COVID-19, but their version of it melts our faces off because we're slightly different. Yeah.
Right, and we don't have time to cure it. Like, and then humanity's done, and that's it. Because this guy was like, hey, what happens if I press this button? So he's coming from a place that it's like, it's not two-dimensional.
Sure, we can sympathize with that as the reader.
Right. And so, and because Kadir is also like a super scientist, he understands what Grant is doing. So it's not like, I just don't like this guy. He legitimately understands what is going on here, and it's like, dude, this is bad.
This is super danger. Yeah.
And Kadir, at his core, is kind of the opposite of Grant, because he believes that preserving order is all that keeps us safe. So don't poke the bear. Hey, let's just, like, we're good. Let's just keep subtly refining ourselves until we got this. We're almost there. Don't poke the bear.
That stifles discovery.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can see it from either way, but the discovery of what?
Well, shit happens.
Yeah, airborne acid. That's what you've discovered, and everyone's dead. Congratulations on your discovery.
You've discovered a dimension of fluidic space, and you drowned ours. Awesome.
Yeah. Good job, everybody. So that's where you're coming from. That's kind of your dichotomy.
Nice.
There. So Grant and his team have created something called the Pillar, and it's a 6 foot tall, kind of bulky looking device that can transport people between dimensions. And it looks like it has kind of like a bubble effect. So as long as you're like near it, like you're within 10 feet of it, 15 feet of it, or whatever, it'll take you, wherever it's going to go.
Okay. And it's as random, or they can point it?
No. It's absolutely, it's controlled. They know. So they after they create the device, they do an initial test, just a quick test to see if it, essentially if it ends all life on Earth real quick.
Kind of like when they sparked up the Hadron Collider. They're like, okay, let's smack some shit together. If we get a black hole that destroys the world, well.
Or when they first tested the atomic bomb.
Oh, yeah.
There was a legitimate theory that the atmosphere would just light on fire and we'd all die. Oh, well, let's try it anyway.
Well, what's the worst case scenario? Well, the air catches on fire and we all fry.
Yeah. And I really think part of it's marketing, because it's really it's a device, it's a vehicle that transports people between dimensions. But if you're Grant, it's transporting you through the layers of the Eververse, because he's always groovy about it.
He's poetic, yeah. Yeah, this is groovy shit, yeah.
Yeah. So on their first test, they open up a gate and life comes through. It's like it's plant life, it's it's like harmless, whatever. But hey, first contact. Like, we popped in a alien life form. Cool. Without telling anybody. So everyone's excited. It works. Grant's jazzed, and he gets a buzz that his kids are here to visit. And he's kind of a little bit of an absent-minded scientist. He forgot that today was family visit day to Daddy's lab.
Yeah, bring your whole family to work day.
So fortunately, everyone who goes into Grant's lab has to put on essentially a like Half-Life hazmat suit.
Okay. That's precautions. So he's not totally willy-nilly about it. I mean, he's got some precautions going.
And do you know whose precautions these are?
I'm going to guess they're Kadir's.
They're not Grant's. Grant wants to walk around in jeans and a t-shirt. He immediately complains about having to wear all this junk.
Of course. That's pointless.
It's family visit to Daddy's lab day. So, Grant's excited. He's showing the kids, hey, we did this thing and it works. Like, it's so exciting. Like, we're about to change the world. And that's when he has a conversation with his son. He has a son and a daughter. He's like a teenage daughter and kind of, a young son. And that's when he has a conversation of what the Eververse is, what this onion is and what they're trying to do. And while they're talking, the pillar is accidentally activated, and Grant's kids, staff, and boss, who had just come down to reprimand him for running an experiment without telling him.
Yeah. Kadir, his boss.
Kadir, yeah. They're all tossed into another dimension by surprise and completely unprepared.
Of course.
Except for the suits they're wearing, which, good job, Kadir. Unfortunately, the only person not wearing a suit is Kadir.
Oh, no. Well, you don't get one now. I'm keeping mine.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, they land in a planet that has air on it, so he's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. That actually, I just had a thought. It's a gateway that opens to another layer of this onion. So,
Yes.
Does that mean that it's another copy of Earth, or it's
No.
Okay. So it can be. It's not just space, or it's not just dimensional shifting we're talking about here. There's spatial jumping as well.
Very likely, the original plan was that it would just hop to different Earths.
Earths, right? That seems like the more safe route to go, right?
Right. And what happens is we discover the pillar has been sabotaged. Both the control panel and the timer have been bashed in.
Oh, shit.
Completely crushed, but only after setting it to jump.
Okay.
So now the pillar is jumping randomly between dimensions, with Grant and his team stuck, putting things right that once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
So there's your quantum leap. Okay. I was also getting vibes of Stargate. Even though Stargate is just different planets within our own universe, this is, or I think it's actually just our galaxy in Stargate.
And Stargate's kind of like it's on purpose.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. It's very purposeful, pointed discovery. Okay, we got a new code. Let's go there and see what's going on. Yeah.
Right. This has that quantum leap feel of it's random. We don't know where we're going. We don't know why we're there. We don't know if we're going to die the next jump. Like it's much more chaotic.
Okay. And the timer is different every time. Like they're at a place for a set amount of time every time.
So at the first stop, they're there for an hour.
Oh shit.
Their second stop is 4 hours. Their third stop is like 4 days.
Oh wow.
4 or 5 days. And then the fourth stop is like 7 minutes.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so it really varies.
That's a big variance. Yeah.
Right. So they start to jump around from dimension to dimension. So we start off with fanged fishmen riding giant colorful eels on land who are ruled by cruel bioelectric frog monsters.
Awesome.
It is just... So this book is gorgeous.
Right.
A lot of the plot... It's a good story. Absolutely good story. It keeps your attention. It's well paced, but the art is just... You'll spend whole minutes just staring at a page. The very first planet we jump to is just, it's wild. I mean, there's colors are crazy. It's a real, the world is dark and everything's kind of bioluminescent.
That's awesome.
So like deep sea kind of stuff. So everything it like lights up on its own. You kind of zoom out and you see Grant and another scientist, and they're being pursued by these, fish monsters. And you see they're being pursued towards a cliff. And then you zoom out again and you see the cliff is actually a chunk of landmass sitting on top of an enormous tortoise.
Oh, cool.
And then you zoom out again and you see it's a sea full of enormous tortoises, each with their own little continents on top.
That's awesome.
And each continent is topped with an enormous Aztec temple. Each one of them are simultaneously being struck by hot pink lightning. Like you'll spend all day just staring at that page.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
You spend a lot of time really appreciating the details and the art. Mm-hmm. And the story is good, but the art really is something to pour over.
It's just it'll floor you. Yeah,
that's awesome.
The other scientist who's with him is killed on page 2.
Oh no.
She gets a projectile to the face.
Ooh.
And it explodes.
Ooh.
It's raw right there. And that's a right as you're getting into the book, shows you, okay, none of these people are safe. This wasn't like a red shirt. These were like main characters.
And this was like a person from his family?
No, this was one of his assistants.
Okay.
So it's one of the other scientists. So there are 4 other scientists, his 2 kids, Kadir, and Kadir's like personal guard kind of person. So there was some kind of security person who's on Grant's team who reports directly to Kadir.
Okay, like a bodyguard.
She's essentially, and she's kind of like there to make sure they're not sneaking stuff around.
Right. Okay.
She kind of, and so she's on his side, but she's also kind of like his Brock Sampson.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
so she's there to keep him safe too. And he barely escapes. There's this big chase scene. It's crazy. There's you can see there's some Rick and Morty inspiration. Sure. I'm talking Rick and Morty inspired by this. There's some great scenes, and then he barely makes it back to his family on time, and they jump again. And then we jump into an epic World War I style battle. They jump into a trench. No idea why they're there, and they're still like stunned from the accident. They don't know what's going on. Like, they just know that this thing has started working and it's broken and it's jumping.
Right.
So over the wall comes a soldier, and they interrogate him, and he's speaking German.
Okay.
And Kadir speaks German because, again, super scientists. I mean, these are smart people.
Yeah, very, very smart. Yes.
So he goes to translate, and we find out that this is a war being fought between European troops and Native Americans riding around in enormous mecha warships and dressed like if Hawkman went to Tron.
Nice.
After that, we get a breather and spend a few days in a world that's not trying to actively kill them.
Well, lucky for them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice. And
they needed a break.
Honestly, because Grant almost dies. Half the team dies in that story, like in the trenches.
World War I setting, yeah.
Oh, it's awful, yeah. It's a real like stressful arc to go through,
right?
Because each one of these are like mini arcs. It's like there's like an adventure in each one of these little hops, and the team is shredded. And then the next hop is Grant wakes up in a nice bed, and it's really like kind of Blade Runner-y looking, but if like the sun came out.
It wasn't orange everywhere.
Yeah, and it's kind of like if the cantina from Star Wars broke out over the whole planet.
Okay.
So you get a cornucopia of different alien types just wandering around doing cool alien stuff.
Nice.
And for me, that would have been our new home. Like,
yeah.
You know what? My bad. Sorry. Daddy got lost on vacation. But what if we just let the pillar just keep jumping around on its own, and we just stay here and kick it with the super high-tech alien dudes? Like, that's rad too, right?
No kidding. So the pillar is something they have to be around when it jumps.
Right. It's not attached to them. It's like a physical
gotcha
device. They call it a vehicle, but it's not like something you ride on. It's like, imagine if like you're like a really fancy trash can that you had to be within 10 yards of.
Okay.
And it would take you on a leap.
It's like if Oscar the Grouch wanted to take you for a ride, huh?
Yes. Yeah. But unlike my, wonderful suggestion of just kicking it on the sweet alien planet where everyone seems to be pretty cool with them being there.
Yeah, who knows what you could learn.
Yeah. Instead, they decide to keep jumping, which is another option, I guess.
Home is a powerful motivator for some, I guess.
It really, 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 really is.
Yeah.
that gets hit on a lot in this. And we end the arc on a frost planet with red-eyed clockwork steampunk monkey men.
Yes.
And we even meet the monkey man version of Grant, who is working on a pillar of his own. Unfortunately, Kadir trips over a cable, sending the monkey pillar crashing to the floor.
Fucking Kadir.
That crazy Kadir. I'm telling you, he just can't help himself from breaking pillars. It's just kind of his thing. Because it turns out he's our saboteur.
Why would he sabotage something and then put himself in the room to be caught in the sabotage?
That's a great question. He crudely bashed it in, thinking it wouldn't go off. It would just be broken. And that the project would just be delayed.
Oh, okay.
They're just going to buy him more time. At least in this arc, there's nothing fancy about the idea. He literally found out they made it work, and he came and crushed it.
So he wanted it to stop.
He wanted to stop.
Not trap them in an ever-jumping.
No, this was not his plan.
It was, okay, so it wasn't an evil plan. It was this is freaking dangerous.
It was
so
a
I'm
desperate
gonna try
plan.
and stop it, right? Not I need to get rid of this asshole. I'm going to send him and trap him in the multiverse. Got it.
Right. It's more of a, hey, he just brought surprise plant life through a portal. I'm going to break this now.
Yeah. We're going to shut the door on this. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just thought it was too dangerous.
Okay.
And he wanted it to fail.
Gotcha.
That was it. But in every single layer of the Eververse, Kadir is the party pooper. He does
You mean like every other version of him?
Every world that has a pillar in progress is destroyed by Kadir.
Oh.
Whatever form Kadir takes, that is how the pillar is destroyed.
Interesting.
Now, we learn that this reality is the only reality in all the Eververse where the pillar didn't explode and kill Grant's children. And we learn that from Grant himself, just not our Grant. It's another Grant. This one is wearing all black and cool anime scars.
Okay.
So this Grant is an older, wiser, meaner version of our Grant. And he's here for the only version of their kids still alive in the Eververse.
Wow. Okay.
So after the accident, Grant and his wife vowed to travel the Eververse to find a world with their kids still in it.
Oof.
And everyone they went to had suffered the exact same fate.
Talk about reliving your freaking traumas.
Yeah, so they're a little damaged goods.
Yeah, and I had assumed that the Grant of our story, the hero Grant, is in some trouble with these people who want to take his kids.
Right, because they see him as essentially their last hope and also wildly irresponsible by taking the one copy of their kids through random jumps through dimensions.
Right.
So there's a fight. Our Grant wins, gets Darth Grant at gunpoint. And Darth Grant essentially gives him a choice. He says, you can give the kids over to us, who are their parents.
I mean, technically they are. Yeah, right.
Right. It's kind of a weird thought. It's like, yeah, they are. And we'll take them home. You'll never see them again, but you'll know they're safe. Or you can keep them with you, but you don't know where you're jumping to next, and you're all much more likely to die than to find a way to fix this. So
Not much of a choice.
it's a tough one.
They both suck.
I mean, really, it's like, and the whole point of Grant trying to fix the pillar is to get his kids home safely. So, do you trust these new alternate versions of you to just take your kids and raise them safely, and that'll be that? And you just do whatever, like try to get back or whatever? Or do you say, screw off and take them with you?
Yeah. They're, as a parent, it's like, no, can't trust you. You might look like me, sound like me, behave like me, but I can never trust that you would do what I do. So no, I'll take the chance. And if my kids and I die together, at least we're together, you can go off back to your little home world where you don't have kids. These are mine.
And then, like, also imagine meeting another version of you that looks like Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
But, like, before he gets tossed into the lava, but after he murders a bunch of kids for the second time. That's a tough sell.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
Hey,
yeah.
give me your kids. They'll be safe. Will they,
I'm gonna
though?
go with no.
And the kids are kind of immediately repulsed by them, too. There's, like, weird, like, there's an uncanny valley there of, like, oh, whoa, you're my dad, but you're not my dad.
Right.
Like, that's creepy. And then his wife, their mother, is there too. And they immediately run to their mom, but then, like, whoa, you're not her.
Right.
Like, I could just feel it. Like, that's...
Yeah,
that's
they knew immediately. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, yeah. So our Grant tells the other Grant to piss off. And he and the kids hustle back to the pillar to meet up with a group for the next jump. So it's a tough call. That'd be a weird one.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Because what if your next jump was an ocean planet? You all just drowned. Like, that'd be awful. You'd immediately regret, like, oh, we're going to be here for 17 years. Hey, it's all water. Well, kids, sorry.
Yeah. No, it sucks, but I think I would still choose that. You know, it's like you don't give up your kids to somebody else, even if it is technically you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's no.
That's a big crux of the story. Like this interaction between the alternate version of the parents goes on for a little bit. And you see him kind of struggling with that decision. Like,
yeah, no, I can see it from the other side as well. It's like I have access to infinite versions of the universe.
Yeah,
there's got to be a version where my kids are still alive, so I'll just go take them. It's okay. It's not kidnapping. It's not anything like that because they're mine, but they're not. But they are. But they're not. But they are. But they're not.
I just realized this is the plot of Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kingpin creates a wormhole to go to another dimension to get his wife and kids who aren't dead.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've only seen the movie once, remember, from the last time we talked about it.
You hurt me.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, the next jump lands the team on the roof of a giant, again, beautifully illustrated stone temple covered in snow.
Oh, pity.
That's where we meet our clockwork monkey men, and it starts a whole other adventure. And these are serious Mignola monkey men.
Ooh.
Like, they are very inspired. They look like they're straight out of Hellboy.
That's
like,
awesome.
They got big glowing orange eyes, and everything's in really dark tones, and yeah, it's a real treat. And we get a showdown between Grant and Kadir, because Grant now knows that Kadir's the one who sabotaged this thing.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. You're the guy. You're the reason that this fails every time. It's you. And so they have it out. It's like a fight to the death. Like, they are going to kill one another.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no coming back from this. And Kadir tries to explain himself. Like, you're reckless. You were going to kill us all. Like, I broke it. I didn't know it was going to take us somewhere. You're a bad scientist.
It's not my fault. It's your fault.
Yeah.
No, it's not my fault. It's your fault. I had shit under control. Yeah.
That'd be like if I kicked your computer and then we went to Tron. It's like, this is your fault. Me kicking this thing should not have started this process. Right. and I'm gonna go your style, and I'm not gonna give away the end.
Nice.
But we do end with the only thing that has more layers than an onion, and it's that sweet, sweet Alanis Morissette irony.
Ooh.
So, do they get home? Do they lose any more dimensionauts along the way? Do they find a universe where breadsticks aren't unlimited?
Get out!
We perish the thought.
Can't stay there.
We read Black Science and find out, because when you start messing with Black Science, anything is possible.
Bitch, are you for real?
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think I'll go out. I haven't been to the comic book store in a long time for obvious reasons, the pandemic.
Right.
You know, not trying to do a lot of unneeded, you know,
sure, you got
shopping.
a big old family. Yeah, no, that's kind of high risk. But yeah, if you get a chance, definitely pick this one up. And if you want to check it out on Comixology too, you get some nice, real high res scans.
Very nice
of that art. So that was a lot of what I've been doing is just spending lots of time on single pages and not taking any notes. And having that printed art is nice. I have a copy of the trade as well. There's two versions. There's the regular soft cover trade, and then they have a hardcover special edition. It's like $50, but it's oversized. You know, it's really a showcase for the art.
Those are really cool. I like those. It's kind of like the Absolute Authority issues that I got, the big oversized versions of the trades. Mm-hmm. They're awesome. It's like the special edition Blu-ray, except it's a book.
Right. Yeah. This is the artist cut of the book. Is the pages are big. They're printed on very nice paper.
Nice.
Yeah. They're probably Giclée rated for you printing nerds out there.
Those are very nice. Giclée is nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend it. Check it out. If you like a good science fiction story, it's very, very fun. If you just want to really enjoy some, I mean, Frank Frazetta is a definite inspiration here. Like it's like axe wielding barbarians riding spaceships.
That's
like
awesome.
It's just all over the place, man. It's a fun ride.
So it's sciencey, but it definitely has a mystical fantasy vibe as well.
Yeah. It can really, it has a wide palette. Yeah, it can really go a lot of places. So the artist, you can tell, really loves that retro future high-tech style.
Right.
And it is executed extremely well.
Nice.
The painter, Dean White, I mean, you can see, when he paints these big, panels, these big full splash pages and stuff, you could frame it up on your wall. It's an incredible piece. So so even if you're not into sci-fi, but you're a bit of an art nerd, this is a good one to check out too.
Excellent. Sounds good, man. It sounds fun, and me, I definitely like good art, and I did pick it up and thumb through them, and the art is very good. I'll have to go and get a trade. I really want to check it out.
Good. I'm glad I could sell you on it. That's a fun one.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, next up, we go to the hold list, where we talk about the other things we're enjoying, comic related and otherwise. And Jeremy, I'll throw it to you. You want to go over some new stuff, some new goodies, a new season to Path of Exile.
Yeah. I've talked about Path of Exile before. I think only once before. It was a hold list item from a few episodes back. I don't remember which one. Essentially, a new League is coming out, which starts for PC users on January 15th. I'm really looking forward to it because this has actually been a longer cycle, a longer wait to get to the new League stuff, because Heist actually went longer. And
that was because of Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah, it was because of Cyberpunk.
So that they could all play like a really glitchy game.
It was, everybody knows, if you listen to this, you're probably into games at least a little bit,
Yeah.
And so everybody is probably aware of the hype that was around Cyberpunk 2077, and, Chris Wilson and GGG, the developers of Path of Exile, announced that they would be pushing back this new League a month. And the reason was they didn't want to compete with a big release, especially a release with as much hype around it as 2077.
A decade's worth of hype from the most loved development company on the planet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It made sense, and I mean, they even, they proved their logic by their numbers. They've released leagues when other games have come out, and they've shown that their profits and stuff have gone down. And since this is a free game, they rely on new league starts for people to get bundles and stuff. It's, business, right?
Right.
So it made sense. But yes, I'm sure that there's, a lot of people who were like, I work on Path of Exile, but I want to play Cyberpunk. It's a huge hype game.
Sure.
And now there's a lot of salty folks out there that are pissed that it was pushed back a month for a game as messy as Cyberpunk 2077 turned out to be.
The folks over at Path of Exile, I mean, they needed to allot some time to download the game, and then download the game, and then download the game again. It takes a while,
and restart because of corruptions.
And your save game file is trashed, so you're gonna start over. And boy, that character creator is really good. Unfortunately, the character you create kind of looks like the one that you created.
Nothing like it's. I don't want to bash Cyberpunk 2077
we both
because
have it. We both played it. I enjoyed the time I've spent with it.
Yes.
And Jeremy and I have played around with game development just as a hobby, so we kind of have a little bit of understanding of how these things piece together. And so when I was playing the game and it was glitching out, I'd walk around a corner and there's guns floating in the air, and I'm just like, I know how that happened, and I know why that happened, but I don't know how this got through.
Yeah, and we also know how it feels to see that and be like, fuck.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. When it's
thought that was fixed.
When it's one layer of a million and that happens, you go,
right.
Oh great, what caused this? Neat. I get to go through every one of these. Awesome. Yeah, I get where they're coming from, but for sure, I am also a hobbyist idiot.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red is known for the Witcher series, obviously. The Witcher 3 being one of my personal favorite games of all time. It's most everybody's. Downright amazing. Yeah, it's on everybody's list. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, the hype was warranted, right? I'd say that the hype was definitely warranted, and I do believe that they're going to follow through with what they said. They're going to fix the problem.
Hey,
you know?
in a post No Man's Sky world, there's no excuses for not fixing your stuff post release.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, they set that bar pretty damn high.
Yeah, and it's fantastic what they've done with No Man's Sky. I still find it dreadfully boring.
Sure, but it's a real recent and hard lesson of not living up to expectations.
Absolutely.
And then winning back your community. Like that's their hero's journey. I'm sure
you know,
CD Projekt Red is taking notes. Like, okay, now what are we doing? Shit.
they
Okay.
should have taken note with Peter Molyneux. How many times did Peter Molyneux overpromise and underdeliver?
I don't know. He's the biggest swinging baloney in this industry. Like
He's the king of it. He's made some truly epic shit, but then his latter half of his career has all been overpromised. We're getting away from the path.
These are hot takes from 1998. Did you play Black and White? That was a horrible disappointment.
Man,
Right,
okay.
Back to Path of Exile.
Yeah, we could have
it
a
called
whole
new
episode.
Season or new league? Did I get
So
that
it's
wrong?
new. I mean, some people call it a season. They call it it's a league. Yeah.
All right, got it.
So the new league is actually, it's called update. It's called Echoes of the Atlas. But the 3.13 version is Echoes of the Atlas, and the new league is called Ritual. And without getting into me specifics,
very
it's
metal.
just it's really cool. It's quickly explain what it is that there's going to be in every zone that you go to, there's going to be some kind of ritual pillar, and you activate it, and you have to fight waves of any enemies, and every single time you activate it, they get harder. And then eventually the pillar itself, the ritual object itself, will start attacking you. And so things get harder and harder until you eventually beat it. And then you can choose your rewards. And what's neat about this one is that you can actually you can bank an item if you can't afford it, because and I don't know the exact details of what you gain, but it's some kind of currency. You build up a currency as you do these rituals. And if you don't have enough of this currency to buy an item, you can select it and you can hold it for the next time. And so you can kind of plan out your own rewards, which is really kind of cool. There might be the very first time you do a ritual, there might be an object in there there's no way you can get it right now. So you can keep banking it, and eventually you'll have enough of this currency to get that reward. And going along as you go to earn that stuff.
So essentially, it's like Path of Exile has invented layaway.
It is very much like layaway. Absolutely. The Ritual League will probably become known as the Layaway League. I think that's hilarious, and hopefully that catches on. That's awesome. This is just fucking Kmart. Can't afford that scooter now. Put that shit on layaway.
Check out this sweet shield. I'm gonna get it in 4 weeks. I got it on layaway.
I got it every month. I gotta pay my payments.
They're gonna hold it for me. They promised.
But along with the new Ritual League, there's also the Echoes of the Atlas, which is a big change to the end game. There's a couple of new skill gems, but they do a huge overhaul of what's called Ascendancy. And the Ascendancy has been changed up completely. Every single Ascendancy tree has been changed, and which in turn means that there's probably going to be a hefty change to the skill tree as well.
Yeah.
I would assume. I could be wrong about
because those skill trees are no joke. Like those things branch like crazy.
They do. They are hardcore, and just adding the Ascendancy on top of it is another layer of complexity. The biggest change, though, is that they've actually added Ascendancies to the map device itself. And the map device, if anybody, if you don't know what it is at the end game of Path of Exile. There's multiple end games systems, but the main one is mapping. There's a map device. You get these things called maps, and they are random versions of a tile set where you go in and you kill all the enemies and you beat the boss and you get your rewards. And you can power up these maps in several different ways. But now, not only can you power up the maps, you can also power up the map device. So that adds a whole, yet
Right.
again, another layer
Yeah.
of complexity.
You can like double juice it.
You can triple and quadruple juice it, but then you can also, like, I briefly perused the change logs and some of the Ascendancy nodes for the map device, and you can target specific mechanics, because each new league, if it was popular enough, previous league mechanics are still present in the game. So like the last league was called Heist, and in Ritual there still is the chance that you have Heist drops.
Oh, okay.
And so you can actually, there's power-ups to make those mechanics better or like stronger or weaker. If you never want something, you can make that, just kind of forget about it, but you can juice up, like the Einhard League, where you fight rare animals, that kind of thing. So
nice.
It's way more complicated than it used to be, and it was always complicated. Now it's even more complicated. So more to learn. I never understood the end game before, and I'm still not going to understand it this league, but it's super fun anyway.
Yeah, it's when a complicated game becomes more complicated, and like that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like that's a feature, not a glitch. Like
It's definitely a feature. Yeah.
This is a game for like power nerds. Like oh, there's more stats. Bring them on.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's certain spreadsheets. It's more on top of more on top of more, and some people really like it. Some people really hate it. There's not a lot of moderates, in my opinion.
Well, no, I think I'm a moderate. I
think I'm a moderate too.
No.
In terms of this,
Let me show
when
you
it
what a
comes to this
moderate looks
game.
like. Look at me. This is what a moderate looks like. No, I say that because I enjoyed it. I got the mechanics immediately. It is a well-crafted game. I could definitely see the appeal of it, but I just, at this point, doing all this podcast stuff, I just don't have the time to learn it well enough to like get into the next level of it.
It has a super steep learning curve.
But I can see where the rewards are, because I watch your streams when you play, and it's like, wow, that looks awesome. Like super fun, because you're just a whirlwind of activity that you've got all these things going on, and it looks really, really fun. And so I can totally see where it is if you can put some time into it. And so I kept it. It's still installed on my machine, because it's one of those things like, okay, when I get better at editing and stuff like that, I may start playing this in the background, because I can just kind of like rip through areas and kind of do that kind of stuff once I learn it better. Because right now I'm still like, I have to read every single thing. Okay, what is this?
You're right. It has a very steep learning curve, and it is a very non-committal game in that regard, that if you're listening to the podcast while you're editing or whatever, you can jump in, gain a few levels, jump out. You know what I mean? But you're right. It takes some time to get to the point where you can just jump in and jump out.
Yeah, I've seen the way that you do it. It seems like a nice, just like piecemeal game that you can play.
Absolutely. So, like I said before, Path of Exile, the new league, Echoes of the Atlas, it releases on January 15th, which is Friday. Let's see, I'm on what is Pacific Standard Time for me, so I think it releases either at noon or 1.
Nice.
Whatever time of day it is for you. Comes out on console on January 20th, but I don't play PC games on consoles. That's lame.
So will you be there ready to go when they drop?
Possibly. I have to look at my schedule. I have appointments all the time now because I'm taking care of my dad and stuff, but
yeah, you're a busy guy.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Yeah, let me know. And if you do, maybe I can stream it. I'll watch you play.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, get a taste of the new stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. Well, if you like that, if you like playing Excel the game, then you're probably used to some board games. You're probably used to some dice games. So this will kind of be up your alley. It will come as no surprise to anyone who has endured this show for any extended period of time that I have a love of lore. I love lore regardless of the medium. Obviously, I love comic lore. That's a big part of my life. But there's a special place in my heart. A dark place. A grim dark place. A place designed by Liberace, possessed by Pazuzu. That place, of course, is the world of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah. Okay.
I love the lore of 40K.
It's bananas, dude.
It's great. It's so deep. It's so fun. And it is just the right mix of bleak sci-fi and religious lunacy for me.
Yeah.
It's like the Book of Revelation through the lens of Flash Gordon. And if you know me, you know how many boxes that checks for me.
Oh, yes.
So have you ever played Warhammer 40K on tabletop?
No. We've talked about it before. Hell, I think we've even talked about it on this podcast.
Oh, no. Probably.
Yeah, it's too much to play. The complexity of it, the accuracy, like we were talking about how you measure shit out and all that
just
kind of stuff.
just the sheer square footage you need to play these games.
It's not my thing.
It's kind of intimidating. Well, my old roommate and we got a card game version. It was much easier to play. You just played on like the coffee table. It's no biggie.
Yeah, I mean, if you could distill it down to a card game, that's way better.
Yeah. And we never won. Not once. Ever. It was literally the two of us against like 11 dice, and we lost 100% of the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it was like old school paper version of Dark Souls. Like it was just punishment. Like each time you laid the game out, like, all right, here we go. Get ready to lose.
Get ready to lose. Kind of like a roguelite. You know you're going into this just going to die horribly.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all about the journey. So now, by this point in my life, I have consumed the 40K world in a variety of ways, but I just discovered a new one that somehow makes the world of 40K even weirder.
Ooh.
The premise is this. After 10,000 years of sitting silently as a magic corpse on a golden throne, his custodian has a text-to-speech device installed in the chair. So that way the Emperor of Mankind can finally address his subjects once more.
Even though he's dead. All right.
But he's magic dead. So that's important. And the first words out of the Emperor:
We have managed to implement a text-to-speech device to your glorious golden throne. Please, Lord, speak to us.
About fucking time.
At last! Our glorious Lord command us once again!
I have so many things to complain about.
Oh, shit.
And from here on out, you get an almost South Park version of the Warhammer 40K universe.
Nice.
And one of the interesting things to me is that the Emperor plays both exasperated newcomer, having been sitting quietly for the last 10,000 years, but also the mastermind pulling the strings behind the scenes. And this is a clever way to portray the character because it answers a lot of questions a new fan would have, but also has a lot of deeper jokes that long-term fans will get.
Very cool.
So if you're interested in poking around in the grim dark, or if you're like me, always looking for new ways to cram more 40K into your brain, check out If the Emperor Had a Speech-to-Text Device on YouTube. And that will lead us actually into our IRL hero of the week, strangely enough. We're going to be talking about Charity Hammer. And this is a group called Charity Hammer 40K. And they run these marathon streams for charity. So starting January 15th at 2 p.m. Pacific, Charity Hammer will run 2 separate Warhammer streams for 52 hours straight.
Woof.
They will create over 87 hours of competitive-focused Warhammer 40K content.
Damn.
Now, they're going to do this with help of some of the top players in the game. And this is coming right after some pretty massive game updates. So you'll be able to see top players playing with and explaining all of the new changes, which I think if you're a 40K player could be really valuable.
Sure.
And if this sounds rad to you, and it should, all they ask is that you make a donation to support Hammer Out Cancer.
Very nice.
But if you can't make that happen, I understand. They understand. That's fine. You can give it a watch later on YouTube. They're going to put the whole thing up, and you can watch it, and it'll have ads, and they'll make money off the ads, and so you can kind of passively support them that way.
Very cool.
So everyone who gives at least $30 to Hammer Out Cancer will get a raffle ticket, and they will be drawing prizes through the entire event. And at the end of the event, they will be giving away a 2,000-point, beautiful, professionally painted Necron army. So
Ooh.
so 2,000 points is the size of the army. So they play games in sets of points, like how many kind of players you can have. Each player has a different point value. So it's a full set, professionally painted, and the Necrons are little skeleton Egyptians.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're really cool. So if you missed the initial stream, don't worry. All 87 hours of content will be recorded and made available after the event for free on YouTube. So check out charityhammer.com for tournament schedules and more details on how to donate.
Very cool. And for once, this charity stream is happening the day after we publish this episode you're listening to. So we're actually on time for something.
Yes, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So if you're listening to this episode, at least soon after it comes out, you will be able to participate in the Charity Hammer stream in real time, which should be very fun.
Nice.
All right. Well, that will do it for this week. Next week, join us on a deep dive into a very shallow oasis.
Yes.
We're going on safari for pouches and buckles, and by God, with Jim Lee as our guide, we can't miss.
Love me some Jim Lee.
Literally, you fire in any direction, you'll bag yourself at least a dozen pouches and belt buckles.
Muscles on muscles.
Can't wait. So, yep, we'll be talking about 1992's Wildcats next week, and it's going to be a very, very colorful episode.
Yes. Many pullouts, many multi-page spreads of art of women with too big of boobs and dudes with too big of hands and heads.
That you won't be able to see because this is a podcast.
That's right. Google will be your friend on this episode.
There you go. We'll set you in the right direction. All right. Email us at mindingthemultiverse@gmail.com or find us at This Multiverse on Twitter to recommend story arcs, tell us what we're wrong about, or if you want to wax philosophical about high science and drop your favorite Carl Sagan quote. Now, mine is always changing, but, this has been a pretty fucked up few weeks, and I thought this one might be appropriate. Every one of us is, in the cosmic perspective, precious. If a human disagrees with you, let him live. In 100 billion galaxies, you will not find another.
That's very true. As far as we know, this is the only place that has people.
This is it.
As dumb as they are.
That's the spirit. For Minding the Multiverse, I am Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And remember, all of this is now canon.